Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Infinite Regression. This is that magical place, that magical, terrifying place where all of your doubts and insecurities come to stare you right in the face. They look right into your bloodshot eyeballs, 2 in the friggin' morning, and they're like, hey, why aren't you in bed? Why are you still up playing Minecraft? And then you're like, hey, give me a freaking break. I'm I'm just trying to do some self-care here. I'm trying to be well, and you are filling me full of self-doubt. Let's just do the theme song and then we're going to get into this. Hold up.
This has always been the theme song. This has always been the theme. This has always been the theme song. This has always been the theme. Cha.
Ah, yes, the cha that makes it all worth it. Look, okay, I've already been in Minecraft. I'm trying to enlarge my mind. And also, I'm trying... Oh, wait, let's get this crank back up. Okay. There we go. Minecraft sounds like God intended. And when we talk about God, we're talking about Emmylou Harris. Anyway, Emmylou Harris, she's the one and only true God. You know this. This is not your first time hearing the good word of our Lord and Savior, the one, the only God of all that is Emmylou Harris. You know, a woman so lovely that if you cornered her and were like, are you God? She would probably deny it and probably get a restraining order on you, like she did with me. Rem Pemberton of the Clemson Pembertons. That's right. I am your host. Oh, yeah. I found a geode. I've already mined this thing out hollow. And I'm trying to decide if I want the calcite and stuff. You know, like, I don't know. I mean, in real life, calcite glows in the dark. Did you know that? Do you have random facts about calcite? Or did you not come prepared to class again? Anyway, talk about things. Okay, so this is like my umpteenth attempt at doing this. So let me just tell you what's going on, and you'll understand, and then we'll move on with our lives, and I'll get to go to bed at some point, and won't that be nice? That sounds nice. Going to bed, shoot. That's a type of self-care in its own self. Anyway, so here are things like to understand. So first of all, my sister came into town, and you know she's on the way back from a conference in Vegas, and we are on the way back through Vegas. You know, and so it was so lovely to see her. Like she's one of our, one of our very favorite people, you know, because she really helped us through some times. And so, like, she's having some times, ain't no denying it, and we get to be there for her, and it's kind of lovely. It's the circle of life. And it moves us all. Anyway, so, yeah, my sister was here, and normally I have a very set Friday routine. You know, I will enjoy some adult type refreshment, and, once my adult type refreshment has begun to work its magic, you know how it be. Then like most people are like, it's a depressant, so I am going to let myself feel not depressants don't make you depressed, they make you slow down. Usually they're like, slow down, you move too fast, you got to make the morning last. Just kicking down the cobblestones, looking for fun, feeling groovy. That's all it's about. Let's see, I already mined all this out. Ain't nothing ring-a-ding-dingy up there anymore. There was, but ain't no more. So yeah, like I'm just gonna have to keep mining because I don't even have filler stone right now. I'll just come back and fill this in with some cobbled stone later. Anyway, so having my sister here did throw off my schedule a little bit because, like, I do have the whole thing that I do where, I will be like, hey, it's weekend time, and the Saturn's Day is the time, Saturn's Day in the evening, my lovely wife and I need to spend some time together. And unfortunately, I'm not gonna lie, tonight kind of like got, I don't know, it didn't go entirely as planned, as life sometimes does not. We just wanted to watch some Big Mouth because it is so very lovely to be watching that show right now. Cause like, oh my God. And it just was so self-referential in the last episode that we watched. It was like, oh my God, why did you just so exactly nail both the show itself and the audience that watches it? Like, why did you hit that nail so hard on the head right now? Anyway, but yeah, we love Big Mouth, and we watched a few episodes together, and then she fell asleep. And if I had started it earlier in the evening, then we probably would have watched more episodes together. But also sometimes it's kind of like, is that what relationships are? Just like sharing a Netflix queue? You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes I need to talk about feelings, okay? No, I mean, my wife is lovely, and of course she lets me talk about feelings, and often finds it funny that, like, there are times where she's the one who's like, I'm so tired right now, and I'm like, I have more feelings I need to talk about. Because, like, while many of the people that I work with and work for are plagued with the plague of this, burdensome masculinity, like, call it toxic if you want to, but like a lot of people are not going to identify with that. But like, I will tell you this, this is for real, this is for truesies, and like, I've made multiple attempts at recording this video, but like, I told myself going into this one, we are only telling the truth. That's all we are doing. That's all we're here to do. And so here's what it is. When I was in college, like when I was in high school, I was a total dork, but I was fighting the fact that I was a total dork. And it just like, some people understood me. They saw in me the potential that I so very rarely saw in myself, and when I got to college, like, I don't know, my interests and things that I was doing at the time, like, I became legitimately cool for a period of like 4 years, like, actually factually cool. And it's funny because, like, I don't know how many people would have called me cool in high school. But if they did, like, honestly, anybody who answers that now and is like, no, you were totally cool, is probably retroactively painting stuff that is not factually accurate. Like, I was never, like, Mr. Popular, Mr. That, Mr. The Other. Actually, I was Mr. St. John's, but that is another story for another day. Like, I did win the pageant in my hometown of, like, be the guy of that like wins this mock pageant that's not really a pageant, that's like making fun of the idea of pageants, but is a huge moneymaker as a senior class fundraiser. Anyway, it's a good idea. And I totally won my senior year. And all of a sudden, and I won because like I was a theater kid and a speech and debate kid. And like you put everybody else on stage and they all become a bunch of shrinking violets. And then you put me on stage and I'm like, okay, I'm a shrinking violet in a one-on-one conversation with anyone. Like to this day, come and talk to me one-on-one. And I will not look you in the eye because I am too nervous to look people in the eye when I'm having a conversation with them. Still, as a grown frick man, still too nervous to look people in the eye. But yeah, put me on stage and I shimmer and I shine. Oh, thank you very much. It's what I do. Theater kids are theater kids, and there are many types of theater kids. But my daughter summed it up very concisely. She was like, there's two types of theater kids. There are the introverts who find that theater is their only outlet where they can be something other than themselves, which is, a perpetually terrified person who doesn't do well in most social situations. And then you have just like the total goober oddballs, like the people who are just out there. And, and that includes like so many LGBTQ kids who like are like, yeah, I don't necessarily fit in a lot of places. But you know what? Like, the very idea of this art is that, like, we take everyone who doesn't fit in and we give them a place to fit in. And we give them a way to fit in. And we give them a way to take the things that they can do that are wildly inappropriate in any other setting. And we just give them a place to do it big, loud, and proud. And yeah, and so those are two types of theater kids. I said it differently than my daughter did, obviously, but that's me taking other people's words and spitting them back out in a way that they themselves would not recognize. Anyway, so yeah, like the funny thing is that yes, I did win Mr. St. John's. I won the little contest and whatnot, but on the other hand, like I used to not get invited to certain parties, and then all of a sudden I win the thing and people were like, oh, we can invite him to things. And I was like, no, you can't. I mean, you can invite me, I ain't gonna come. It's like, I have my circle of dorks, and among them I am a god. No, I'm not a god, but like, this is where I belong. This is more what it was like. I was never like, worship me, you dorks, I am your god. I never had the self-esteem for that, which is like half the reason I'm having this episode is talk about self-esteem. Because yeah, I really have struggled self-esteem issues my whole life. It's true. Very true. And that's a hard nut to crack. I mean, so many things play into it. First of all, let's start with the fact that I am a middle child. Like, hey, I raised myself. Just kidding. I mean, my parents did raise me. It's just that I didn't get as much attention as some of the younger kids, and like my parents were emotionally withholding, and so like I didn't develop normal, like, I don't know, emotional states, and I get like oddly like, in school when your teacher would be like, you know what, class, I just need to tell you before the semester's over, I love you. I love you so much. And I care about you. Like, I can't freaking be in the same room as that. Like, I can't. I cannot. I can't take it. Like, I literally cannot handle being in the same room with, like, sincere, actual emotions that people are feeling. Like, what? Who does that? You know? So that's, yeah, product of how I was raised. And it doesn't make things weird at all. No, not at all. Just kidding. I mean, yeah, like, I don't recall my parents saying the L word, lesbians. No, I'm just kidding. Saying, I don't recall my parents saying that they love me, like, until, like, and they probably did say it. They probably did say it, and I don't know why it was so weird for me, but it always was. But like I just couldn't handle that. Like, I couldn't handle real sincere emotion of people being emotionally raw with each other and being open and honest and being like, these are my feelings and this is how I feel. You know, because like I was always like, I have feelings, I need to tamp them down. And because of the way I was raised, you know, we didn't have any alcohol. Like, that was strictly taboo. And so it wasn't like, you know, I could do what a lot of people do and just be like, emotions, why deal with those when I have all the fun of alcohol? You know. And so, yeah, a lot of things went unresolved, a lot of issues that should have been helped with lots of therapy have been helped with I don't know, not thinking about them too hard and then unloading on strangers randomly. Any therapist would say that's healthy, right? You know, just giving all my problems to strangers. Hey, you on the internet, you see me? I'm talking about my problems. You're a stranger. You you want to take my feelings and see if they amount to anything? Does this add up to anything? Are these feelings real or interesting to anyone other than me? Anyway, regardless, it doesn't matter if they are or not. Like, I'm still gonna make this episode. This, like, here's the thing that's weird is that I've gotten some YouTube subscriptions lately, like people subscribing to my channel and commenting on things, and I'm like, oh, okay. Um, y'all know that ain't why I do this, right? Like, I mean, you know, it is true. Like, it's weird. It's weird. I mean, I do watch, like, because it notifies me when people comment on things, and it notifies me when people subscribe and whatnot. And I'm always like, why are you doing this? You know, like, I mean, I'm not rude like that. I was one time. Like, somebody was like, hey, interesting YouTube channel. Want to join forces on a thing? And I was like, back off. I don't play nice with others. And they were like, I'm sorry. I was just trying to be nice to a stranger on YouTube. Forgive me for trying. And I was like, oh my God, I forgot you were a person. Okay, first of all, I'm sorry. Second of all, this is why that's not going to really work out. But, like, I wish you the best of luck on all your future endeavors. And please do not be thrown by the fact that I am weird about this. Because, like, I am full on weird about this. So, like, this is a problem we ain't going to solve. So just look at it and be like, wow, you are a strange little man. And then just move on with your life. Anyway, that's how I feel about it. Anyway, but yeah, you know, I've gotten a couple of subscribers lately who, when they subscribed, were like, yes, I like the things that you do, and I'm going to watch you do them. And I'm like, okay, like, there's something for everybody on the internet. I mean, look, I'm no British man talking about audio equipment with puppets. I mean, that's a YouTube channel called Techmoan, and if that sounds at all interesting to you, you should subscribe to it because it's the best. Like, I could watch Techmoan until the technology moans. Like, honestly, that man, I could like listen to him make wire recordings and stuff and build weird Japanese audio kits and stuff. Like, I could watch that stuff all day and all night. Sorry that my nightmare. Yes, level 2 of oxidation has begun. Oh yeah, I gotta have some like turquoisey greenish stairs, and it's gonna look amazing. It's exactly what I wanted. And with all this seawater about, I mean, it should happen. But they're going to oxidize unevenly. So, because, like, I have to build the stairs in chunks. Because, like, who has that much copper? Anyway, regardless. Oh, so if you don't know, this is a thing I heard on the YouTubes. Because, like, oh my god, there's so many tips and tricks and things from Minecraft that like I don't do because I don't watch a lot of Minecraft videos on YouTube. I just don't. Because my style of playing Minecraft, quite frankly, drives other people crazy because they watch it and they're like, the frick are you doing? Like, I don't understand why you even picked up this game if you're not going to play it like the rest of us. And I'm like, do-de-do-de-do, it's not broken if you don't fix it. Anyway, that's not the saying, but we're going to let it stand. Yeah, good times, good times. I got 2 more saddles. I could take all of those horses if I wanted to. I should want to, but for some reason I don't want to. Anyway. Mergens to heaven, Troid. Boop, boop, ba-doop, ba-doop, boop, 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 ba-doop. Anyway. Okay, so let's talk about issues and whatnot and things. Okay, so, yeah, self-esteem issues have always been a thing in my life. That much is true. But I don't want to jump into that too fast without skipping over, by skipping over everything that happened this weekend and why, like, ultimately I will probably feel very dissatisfied with this weekend and why my suspension, which is going into effect this week, is going to feel like a very pleasant couple of days off, a respite, as it were, a delightful, delightful time where I don't have to put up with no crap from nobody that I don't want to put up with crap from. Anyway. Indeed. So, yeah, it will be nice. But, like, yeah, normally I have a routine with my weekends, and here's what it is. Well, with my, with all of my weekends, because, like, it's all spoken for. It's always spoken for. Like, that's the sad thing about adult weekends is that like, it's like paychecks that are spent before you get them. It's, time off that's, like, already planned out before you have it. Where were the carefree days of yore where it's like, what are you doing? I don't know, watching hockey until I fall asleep on the couch? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's the playoffs. I got to watch games back to back. Anyway, and I used to do that. It was a good time. So, yeah, it's, things are different when you are an adult and especially when you are a teacher. But, I have found that normally on a Friday, if I, indulge myself in some adult type of deliciosity, then, yeah, indeed. Then I can go and enjoy that, get that particular part of the party started, and boop, ba-doop, ba-doop, ba-doop. And that's all good. That's a good time. And that helps, take the edge off of what, could have been a difficult week. I mean, teacher weeks, they can be difficult. And, this last one was for various reasons and also was not for others. And I don't know. You can feel about it however you like. Anyway, so boom, ba-doom, ba-doom, ba-doom. Yay. Hashtag winning. So yeah, like I will indulge myself in some adultitude, not adultery. I don't get down for no adultery. Don't you spread that rumor. It's not what I'm into. I'm into delicious adult beverages. I'm an adult. I can enjoy my weekend like an adult. Anyway, regardless. And by the way, I didn't enjoy weekends like an adult until I was 34 years old. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well over the age of 21 that everybody else waits for. Because everyone waits till they're 21 before they have their first drink, right? Just kidding. I know that in this small drug and alcoholism riddled town that I live in, that the age at which children have their first sip of alcohol is typically the average age is 9, and that is sad. Everyone, whenever I tell them that, they giggle, and then they stop, and then they think about what that means, and then they're like, ha 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 ha, oh, like, that's hilarious. Oh, that's a troubling sign. Anyway, yeah, that's the way it is with alcohol type problems, which is why you wait until you're older and then you don't have those problems. Like, you can just, treat yourself like a gentleman on the weekends and, curlicue your mustache and don't worry about no problems because you ain't doing anything to get like, oh, I'm going to get so turnt. I'm going to get crunky like a monkey. That's what the kids say, crunky like a monkey. Feel free to use that term with them, parents. You just go right up to them and say, hey, I heard you was getting drunky like a monkey on the weekends. Yeah, I know all about you and your terminologies. Oh, crunky like a monkey. You messed it up, parents. You messed it up. That was me quoting you, misquoting me. That's right. That's how that works. Anyway, so it's crunky like a monkey. Remember that. Otherwise, they will not respect you. You know how you feel like they don't respect you? Well, they don't, and they won't until you say, crunky like a monkey, like I told you. Anyway, so, yeah, so I get my adult type, headspace going, because that needs to happen. I mean, it doesn't need to happen, but, like, I would like for it to happen. That's the funny thing, is that, like, I was raised to be super judgmental of people who cannot control their, that you're such a slave to your own, like, materialistic bodily yearnings. I mean, it sounds like Buddhism gone bad, honestly, is what it sounds like when you talk about it. It's like, yeah, you materialistic yearnings are gonna cause you to be reborn, you friggin' materialistic so-and-so. Yeah, Buddhists calling everybody a materialistic so-and-so, like, oh, look at you cramming them donuts. You are definitely gonna be reborn as a fat cow, you fat cow. Oh my god, such judgmental Buddhists. Just kidding. Oh man. Anyway. So, yeah, like I will have my adult type times and then I will try and record things. And it's funny because most people are like, it's a depressant. It doesn't make me want to do things. Like, you know, don't want to get out there and be like, wait, hold on. I'm trying to remember my information from Dare to keep kids off drugs. Worked for me, kept me off drugs. Yeah. Just give me alcohol is a depressant, but it produces some stimulating effects. This makes it an easy drug to abuse. I mean, obviously, doof. Like, people abuse it all the time. This is why I don't. Like, I really don't. And I know that people probably listen to the recordings that I make, and they're like, oh, you're abusing it right then. It's like, I am an adult on the weekend, and I, like, not only wait for it to be the weekend, but wait until my children are in bed, and, like, my time is my own, and I'm in the safety of my own house. I'm not driving anywhere. I'm not doing anything. I have no responsibilities other than to just give myself a little bit of time to do whatever I want to do. And, like, that's my Friday night. And so, you know, and Saturday night is for the missus. And normally I would be, you know, spending more time with her. But right now she is sawing logs. And I am still driven by this need to just compulsively talk into a microphone to strangers on the internet. You know how it be. Anyway, so yeah, normally I have, like, I will get into a headspace that I feel good about, which is, you know, like, I know what you're thinking, and you're thinking, like, this guy gets turned hard. No, I don't. No, I do not. Like, no one would look at the way that I handle myself on the weekends and be like, oh, this guy parties hard. Like, no, it's like literally just me. Like, and I will pretend that I'm in a room full of white people because that's funny to me. I don't know if it's funny to anybody else, but it's funny to me. A room full of white people? Like, what? Why? Why is my production team a room full of white people? But it's the best. Like, I love that little world that I really have in my mind's eye. I can really actually see it. And so, like, I love the little world that I've created for myself, even though it doesn't go very deep. I haven't done very much character development on these characters. You know, like Braxton and Ian and Clarissa and Chaz and all that. Like, I could go deeper into their psyches and figure them out and whatnot. You know, but, like, honestly, it's just fun. It's just fun to have a creative outlet that is 100% my own. I do not answer to anybody about it. And it's freeing. I get to do what I want to do, and I get to say what I want to say, and I get to feel how I want to feel. And it's good. It's so very healthy. It's probably the healthiest thing that I do for myself. Honestly, no lie. It really is. Because like what I'm doing right now, I'm talking about my life. I am unpacking things. I am putting things in perspective. For me, it's for me. Like, if you listen to this and you are not me and you get anything out of it, first of all, like, I don't know how that works. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I legitimately don't know how that works. I mean, I understand the concept of, people being relatable and whatnot, but like, I often feel like my content is not at all relatable. And then every now and again, somebody will be like, "You deserve a sub," and I'm like, "I from Subway?" And they're like, "No, silly, a subscriber." And I'm like, "What? Why are you a person who doesn't know me personally?" Because like, my students be like this. My students be like, "Oh, you have a YouTube channel? Tell me what it is." I'll be like, "No, I'm not going to tell you what my YouTube is." And then one of the kids who like scoured YouTube to try and find my channel, and God knows how they found it. I don't know how they found it. I know how one kid found it, but that was like way later. There are kids who found it last year. And so like it keeps getting shared because there are people who do know what it is, and so they will always share it with people who are like, "Hey, what's your YouTube?" And I'll be like, "No, I'm not going to tell you because it's not for you." And then there will be that kid who's always like, "Yo, I'll tell you what it is." I'm like, "Okay, fine. I guess I have no, like, why?" Yeah, I mean, because the question always is, why put it on YouTube if you don't want it to be seen? And that's a fair question. I don't know that I've ever been asked a fair question by a hypothetical person that doesn't exist. But hypothetical person that doesn't exist, let me tell you the answer to your very compelling query. It is like this person who doesn't exist. I do try not to be a part of this like narcissistic YouTube culture where everybody's like, my thoughts and my feelings count the most because I'm me. Me. Like, I'm all about me. Because, like, look at the way I make videos. First of all, my guiding philosophy for making YouTube videos is if the video takes longer to watch than it does to make, I am not interested. Or longer to make than it does to watch. They say watch than make. Anyway, longer to make than it does to watch. I don't want to make it. Like, I don't get in for a lot of video editing. I don't, like, I know how to do video editing and like stuff like that. It's just the rendering takes so much time and computer power and whatnot, and I'm not willing to get my system resources tied up in that because there are other things that I could be doing with my precious freaking time that I barely have any of. So that's why when it comes to my videos, my like, I have found ways of doing things that work for me and that I enjoy and that I'm okay with. Like, there's a certain level of quality, because like I've seen some YouTube videos where it's like, okay, if your video quality is this bad, how did you get it uploaded? Like, how did a machine that made a video this bad also connect to the internet enough to like put it on YouTube? The questions are very real. Anywho's it's. So, yeah. Oh, hold up. I need a drink of water. Okay, and I'm back. And I legitimately forgot what I was talking about. I mean, I know that I was getting into stuff about, adult type fun on weekends, and enjoying myself, but also not being unreasonable in the ways that I enjoy myself. Because I'm not. Because, like, I have never been into the, like, bingy, crunky, like, I don't do the kind of things that make you shout woo. You know what I'm saying? Like when people are like, "Who's having a party tonight?" and you're like, "Woo, woo." In response to your question, good sir, I give you but one single syllable. Both myself and all my girlfriends, all of whom came wearing the same basic outfit, but like not so much that you would think that it was exactly the same, but it might as well be a uniform because this is what we wear every time we go out. Anyway, we have come to your establishment to drink your fruity frou-frou type drinks, which are delicious, by the way. I'm not knocking the fruity frou-frou type drinks. But we've come to drink those, and we've come to say woo when people, like, mention place names that we recognize, ask us if we're ready to party, things like that. We are ready to say woo at the drop of a hat. As a matter of fact, if you drop a hat, we will say woo. Anywho's, it's, that's the way it do go. With some people, but not me. Like, I've never been that guy who's like, it's party time, woo. I've always been more the type that's like, hey, have you read any good books lately? Oh, you have? Are you done with them? Can I go sit in the corner and read them? They sound amazing. Like, you really talked up these books. Now I'm going to go leave you, and I'm going to stand over there, and I'm going to read the books that you've told me were so great, and I will be the judge of that. You know what? I'm going to burn this just because, like, it's taking up a slot. Come on, dude. You know you're taking up a slot. Anyway, I shouldn't keep diamonds on my person, and I need to cook this copper. Very much so. Anyway, but yeah, let's not bicker over, like, I keep sidetracking my own conversation with myself because I'm trying to make myself not look bad, which is absurd. Like, who am I trying for? Okay. Quick to the point, no faking. Cooking MCs like a pound of bacon. So yeah, normally I like to, like, when I take certain types of depressants, instead of, just, chilling out, maxing, relaxing, all cool, I am like, well, I bid you adieu, everyone. I am going to go get some work done. And when I say work, I mean work on my silly comedy things that are only funny to me. I understand that. They're all, like, made under the influence, for under the influence, by under the influence. And there is no way that they are comical to anyone else. And those are not the videos that people comment on anyway. So, like, the weekend type fun ones are the ones that people are like, I don't know what he's doing. And it's like, yeah, my sense of humor often gets that as a response. Thank you very much. But anyway, yeah, this weekend, like, I was doing myself so many disservices. So my sister came into town, and, she's very cool and very nice, and we talked a good long while, but then at a certain point, like, is when I normally, start getting crunky like a monkey, like you do. And my wife was like, are you going to do that thing where, you get all weekend type relaxed, and then it makes you driven to do work that only you care about. And that nobody else cares about. And then you record it and put it on the internet. For why? Well, for why? Because, like, I'm not going to lie. I do like my own content, and that's very self-serving. But, like, I also don't make any qualms about the fact, like, I've never tried to hide the fact that, like, this is for me. This channel is for me. All the things I do on it are for me. And if you like it, like, good for you. I'm not going to tell you what to do with your life. Like, that's your choices. I often question the life choices of people who watch my content, but, like, whatever. Anywho's, it's... So, the fact of the matter is that, everybody was like, hey, are you going to do that thing? Because normally you like to do things. And my sister was like, yeah, I'm super tired. I'm just going to go to bed. But she's, like, on the fold out in the living room. And so, like, I'm here in the computer room. This is right next to the living room. And I close the door and try not to be all loud. And my sister falls asleep pretty quickly. And it's like, okay, she's asleep. It's fine. I can, like, I'm writing for a bit. And the thing is, like, I keep being full of self-doubt. Like, I just kept writing things and then being like, no, that's not what the mass appeal is. No, that's not what the people want to hear. And it's like, what freaking people? Like, I do have an idealized audience in my mind, and it's not that I'm doing it for an audience, but I do, it's a thing that you learn when you're an English teacher. It's TAP, it's task, audience, purpose. You know what I'm saying? This is like, you got to have an idealized, you got to have a laser focus on what's my task, what is it that I'm doing, who is my audience, who are the people that I'm doing it for, and what is my purpose? Like, what do I hope to accomplish with this? And so, like, my task is always like, well, you got to write something hilarious to you, at least. That's number one. And then audience, my audience is largely a product of my own brain. Like, I try to imagine, relatively intelligent individuals who also enjoy, like, very, very hastily cobbled together, slideshow based internet type humor on the YouTubes. Like, you know what I'm saying? But that's an audience that largely does not exist, because, as I said, of all the type of videos that I do, the weekend type fun ones, like, they get the least amount of views, they get the least amount of comments. And it's not like I'm watching my stats all the time. It's just that, like, YouTube does go out of their way to tell you when, like, they do. When you have a channel page, and you're just trying to get to the part where you're like, I want to upload videos, and they're like, well, here's how all your other videos are doing. And it's like, ugh, I don't really need, like, demographics and whatnot. I assume that if I was trying to become, like, a wealthy YouTuber who can actually live a career on YouTube, that I would care a lot more about such things. But, like, that's not what I'm trying to do. That never has been what I was trying to do. Like, I legitimately, I know that you could just say, like, oh, well, sour grapes, but, like, being famous seems like a massive drag. It does. It seems terrible. And I can't imagine it. And quite frankly, like, the fact that, like, I have been secretly recorded in my classroom. This is some nonsense from Nonsense Town that I really don't want to talk about anymore. But, like, the fact that I've been secretly recorded in my classroom and it reflects very poorly on me, because of selective editing and, like, a certain amount of entrapment, people just being the worst and trying to see if they can break me, and it's the whole thing. Anyway, regardless, but the fact is that just how I handle because being a teacher in a small town is like a weird type of whatever comes after Z list celebrity, you know what I'm saying? People are super excited to see you when you're in a grocery store. They want to talk to you about things, and trips will take longer because people gotta stop and talk. You gotta be like, hey, how are you doing? And former students will do that thing where they're like, you don't remember me, do you? And you're like, oh my god, I can call to mind so many ridiculous vivid facts about who you are as a person, and what you did in my class, and who you sat next to, and what you talked about, and I could tell you intimate details about you. Your name? Frick no, I don't remember your name. Jeez. You take me for I barely remember my own name. It's Rem Pemberton of the Clemson Pembertons. Anyway, regardless. So yeah, when I get people who are like, hey, I like the content, I'm gonna subscribe. Part of me is like, why are you doing this? And so I really do not want or anticipate any type of people taking notice and then me going pro. You know what I'm saying? Hold up, water break. Yeah, you got to get them water breaks. Anywho's, it's yeah. So in addition to the necessary water breaks, it is a kind of thing where sorry, I'm just trying to figure out wait, what? PS3 things that are driving me crazy. GFX, if I install this, will it be the same thing that I've already installed? Will it take up more memory? Anyway, regardless, I shouldn't do PS3 things while I'm in the middle of recording this thing. I should pause and have the respect for my audience that my audience deserves. But there I go again, assuming I have an audience. But I do for certain types of things that I do, it's just not this ain't it. When I make my long ass YouTube or my long ass Minecraft videos, these are usually the ones that students will be like, oh my god, you have a YouTube? And then I'll be like, yes, I have a YouTube. And they'll be like, tell me what it is. And I'll be like, no. And then they'll be like, well, I will find out. And then they do. And then they watch, they subscribe, and then they watch one video and they're like, oh, no, thank you. Because they already get to hear me drone on and on all throughout the week anyway. And so the very idea of listening to me drone on and on in video format and listening to it voluntarily, nope, sorry, That is not what most people are into. And I can't say as I blame them. Anyway, and I'm still like, okay, guys, you guys, I have started this video so many times, and I just keep, like, because I'm trying to be that guy who can talk about his feelings. Like, you know, I don't want to be Mr. Toxic Masculinity. 1, 2, 3, 4. I want to be someone who is, like, in touch with his feelings and doesn't feel bad about that and whatnot. Okay, let me first talk about, like, so my sister being in town kind of threw me off my game, but, like, yes, I did get nice and, you know, into my weekend type headspace. And then, like, you know, and my wife was in here with me too, you know, for a while, because we tend to go to bed later than my sister does anyway. Like, when we're at her house, she'll be like, it's 9 o'clock, it's time for bed. And I'll be like, what? I didn't even go to bed that early on a freaking weeknight when I got school in the morning. Like, you got nerd hours, sis. Like, I'm sorry. You go to bed like a nerd. I'm sorry you have to learn it this way, but these words are true. Anyway, so yeah, like, we were in here and I started writing things that, you know, might be funny for a weekend type fun type video. Only I kept having all this self-doubt and just kept, like, scrapping this and scrapping that and then pulling the video back out of the scrap heap and being like, maybe I can make it work this time, and then, like, putting it back in the scrap heap because I'm like, no, it was stupid to begin with. and just, you know, taking so many cracks at this thing and then not giving myself any credit for anything that I do, and, like, just generally being down on myself. And then I'm like, wait a minute, this is my weekend. Like, I don't want to fall back into that thing. Like, half the reason that I got on antidepressants to begin with is because, like, I was putting too much pressure on myself on the weekends. And the fact is that it's super easy to do, especially when you're a teacher, because, like, you know, I was always that kid. Like, my parents legitimately were worried about me because they would be like, hey, son, would you like to do some work? And I would be like, frick, no, I don't want to do work. They're like, well, then you have to do work. And I'm like, okay, I will do work and I will complain about it the whole time. And they're like, oh my God, we're going to raise a kid who, like, cannot function in society because he doesn't, like, love working. And it's funny because, like, you think about it, like, who loves working? Like, who loves the work that they do? Most people don't. Now, ironically enough, like, I became the sort of person who works a job where you actually do get that level of fulfillment and you are very proud of what you do and you do make connections and, like, lifelong memories. And, like, you know, I said before, the idea that I get to be to my drama kids what Mrs. Willis was to me is so very humbling, but also it's one of the things that keeps me going, is thinking, like, hey, these kids need Mrs. Willis, and that woman has been retired for a long frick time. Actually, I don't know where she is, but, like, she was great, and I very much appreciated her. And I told her as much, because I told that story. We got to come back on tour with my choir, and I got to be like, hey, Mrs. Willis, I appreciate what you did for me. And she's like, oh shucks, I was just doing my job. And I'm like, yeah, but your job is amazing. And now I have her job. Moo ha 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 ha. Just kidding. I don't have her same job. Like I didn't like take her job. I just have a job that is very similar to the one that she had when she was my teacher. Anyway, regardless, don't make it weird. You're the one who made it weird. Anyway, so yeah, I do take very seriously my charge of being to my students what my wonderful drama teacher was to me, and then like to my honors kids, being the oh god, he's gonna die before I get there. Oh, he died before I got there, and so I get nothing. And then this guy's gonna pop out, and he's gonna. Yeah, anyway. So, yeah, like, I wanted to do my normal weekend type fun business and just, write some stupid, ridiculous things that only I find funny and then record them and do the whole thing where I'm like, haha, Stanley the Manly isn't even sober, and, like, do my whole thing, my whole shtick about like, oh, I'm gonna complain about all the white people in the room, and like, so I have a whole shtick, that I've invented, and it's a stupid shtick that is not working for anybody except for me. Like, I am the audience of one who enjoys what it is that I do. And like, am I aware that there are much funnier things out there? Yeah, but I didn't make those. Sometimes, like, okay, let's be honest with ourselves. Like, sometimes people don't do things because they are afraid of being bad at it, or worse, of being mediocre. Because like, being bad, you can practice and get better. If you are mediocre, you are probably going to stay mediocre. Like, you can develop that talent, you can develop that skill, but like, you are never going to be as good as someone with some natural born talent. And like, you just need to come to grips with that. And often that is the case. And so a lot of times, like, let's say that that you enjoy singing, but that Adele is out there and that she has a more beautiful voice than you do. And she does. Aretha Franklin loved Adele, and so by extension, I have to. Just kidding. I already did before I knew that she and Aretha had a whole like thing, and then I was like, wait, they covered each other, and then I should have known that before finding out on the internet, but whatever. You find out when you find out, and then you listen to it and you're like, oh, that's good. Then you listen to the other one and you're like, oh, that's good, they both did each other proud. Anyway, so the fact of the matter is that I want to make my things, and I want to make them good, but for me, like, but good in a way that I can accept. A lot of people have looked at things that I've done, like when I reviewed that submarine game, and everybody's like, you are the worst thing that's ever happened to the internet, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to review 49-cent games. And they're like, well, this one's a cult classic, and we don't take kindly to strangers who don't get our game immediately. And yeah, anyway, that was a ridiculous situation. That's why that video has been taken down. I mean, it's not like down. It's just I made it private, so you can't access it because it is mine. Anyway, so the thing is, like, I started putting all this pressure on myself, and I'm like, wait a minute, hold up. Like, I've got a system full of depressant, which is supposed to make you feel like, hey, relax, buddy. Like, don't get all worked up. That's what depressants are supposed to do. Um, by the way, there are many types of depressants, and so I, like, should just come out and be like, oh, this is what I'm doing. But I'm also like, I know students listen, and students all the time are trying to tell me, like, oh, you know, it's a bomb drink. You should totally try this. And I have to be like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like, you can't tell me that you have ever had alcohol, let alone, like, favor one mixed drink over another. Like, you are a child and therefore should not even have access to mixology at this point in your life at all. Um, the only mixology you should be aware of is the one where you're like, how do we, you know, cut the bad taste of this Robitussin so that we can get the alcohol inside of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, complete degeneracy is what most, like, obviously I did not drink as a teen, but like teens who drank when I was a teen, I had friends. Don't act like I didn't have friends. People always think like, oh, you say it's a friend, then it must have been you. No, it wasn't. I'm telling you, I legitimately did not drink until I was 34. Why would I make that up? Doesn't make me cool. It makes me so much lamer. And like, why 34? 34 is such a crap age to begin doing anything. Like, 34 is the age at which, like, professional athletes are like, well, I am old, so I better hang 'em up. Anyway, yeah, so I don't want to, like, for the sake of students who might be listening, I prefer to, like, euphemize everything to within an inch of its life, and so I'm like, I was enjoying adult type times of a variety that I'd rather not say because estudiantes. You know, like, I wish, like, normally it's like, oh, I've got students who might listen and be like, haha, I heard how you spend your weekend, you know, and, like, that's one thing, but anymore, it's like, I worry that there are going to be students who are like, I'm going to try and get you fired, you know, because that new variety has only recently come into my life, and I don't like it very much, interestingly. But they do exist. They're very, like, you didn't let me go to the bathroom one time. I am going to try and get you fired, and I'm going to tell everyone that you're a racist. Which anyone who knows me is like, yeah, that throws doubt on everything else you say, because, like, you want to tell me that he's mean. Well, first of all, nobody thinks that about me except for, you know, this one freshman. And, like, racist, like, yeah, try and say a racist thing in my classroom. Find out what happens. Find out how long the rant is on, you know, why you shouldn't say and do things like that. You're going to learn about what otherism is, and this is going to be a whole ordeal. You go swearing and whatnot. By the way, I have given the otherism talk to the freshmen, and so they should know that I'm not racist, but, like, you know, the student in question never pays attention to what I'm talking about, so, makes sense. Makes sense. Anyway, hold up just 1 second. I need to... But as I was saying, if you call me Butterrum, then what'll I call you? Anyway, very important. If you get that reference, we are friends. We are friends. Anyway, so, yeah, I kept getting all weirdly self-critical and filled with self-doubt. Everything that I was writing, I'm like, no, that's been done. It's stupid. Nobody cares. Nobody's going to think that's funny. Nobody's going to enjoy that. Come on, stupid. You're out of ideas and blah, 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 blah. I mean, first of all, let me tell you this. Nobody freaking does, like, written by one person freaking weekly comedy show, like, type things. Like, sorry. Stand-up comedians will work on material for years before releasing things. You know, they hone it. They work it to a fine point. They get down to the nitty and the gritty. They make it happen. You know, and so me doing what I do, where I'm like, haha, it's a new week. Let's, you know, come up with a slideshow and whatnot, and then riff on whatever the slideshow is for like an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours. It's not always nonstop chuckles, but like I try, and quite frankly, it's ridiculous. Like, I should not have enough material as I do have. You know, like, I should take pride in the fact that I have any material at all. But, you know, people often are not like that, you know. Like, the whole, you should be proud that you X, Y, or Z. Like, people are always going to be like, but actually, I'm ashamed that, you know, A, B, or C. Anyway, it's, people are strange and complicated and often stupid, and I include myself in that statement. Anyway, so I'm full of self-doubt, and I'm like, oh, my audience isn't going to enjoy this. And I know that my audience is me, but I'm still like, thinking about me watching this later, and am I going to enjoy it? You know, because my wife also listens in while I'm listening back on my evening of hilarity, because she wants to know what the hell I did with all that time. And, oh, she finds out. She finds out. Don't you worry about my lovely wife. She finds out all about what I have wrought with the time that I had. Anyway, regardless, I'm just trying to see if there's lava on my level that I need to be worried about. Anyway. So, yeah, I do try my level best to actually make it good, but, like, also, it can't be good because, like, it's weekly, it's amateur, it's one person, like, of course it's going to be full of, like, dumb things that only make sense to the one person doing it, and of course, like, it's going to tread hackneyed material quite a bit. Like, it's just, that's the way it is. But I couldn't get out of my head, like, oh, I'm not funny. Oh, this isn't good. Nobody's going to enjoy this. This is bullcrap. My every instinct is wrong, and I ought to be ashamed of myself. You know, and that's how I was feeling. And then I'm like, and then I was like, okay, don't put so much pressure on yourself. Come on, bro. Like, why are you getting all pressured when you don't need to be pressured? Like, just calm the frick down. And you know what? Like, you're in a good space right now. When you're in a good headspace, like, you can do Minecraft video and, like, do a Minecraft video, and it'll just be chill, and you can say whatever, whenever, and nobody will give a crap, and it'll be fine. And so I start recording a Minecraft video, and then, like, halfway through, I'm just like, this is bad. Nobody's going to like this. Everybody will hate this because it's bad. And so, therefore, I'm going to stop. And then I just stopped. And I did not upload that video and will not upload that video because I did say a number of swear words right at the end where I'm like, F this is effing stupid. I'm going to stop, you know, like that. That's how I do. But not on the videos that I actually release. And so like I hated on my own ability to play Minecraft. And it's like, come on, dude. What are you doing? And and I left like my friend Diane, the one friend from high school that I have maintained good quality relationship with. She's like, yeah, I told her, I was like, yeah, I've always had self-esteem issues. And I was talking about it in the context of like students and teachers being like, oh, well, we should just boycott. Like on the day that you're suspended, just not show up for friggin' school. And I'm like, okay, you guys, like to the teachers, I'm like, that all that's going to do is make our secretary pissed that she has to find coverage for everyone and won't be able to. That she has to find subs for everyone and she won't be able to. And like, she's not the one who needs to take the brunt of this. Although, like, I don't know what it is. We always choose as the face of the organization a person who always seems bent out of shape anytime they have to perform the basic duties of their job. Where it's like, okay, and you're going to be the one who has to answer the phones, and then they answer the phone and they're like, what? And it's like, oh, you're going to be the one who's the public face on the institution. And so when people come in for the first time, they're going to see you first. She'd be like, do you mind if I have a dour, grinchy frown on the whole time? And they'd be like, I guess not. The girl before you had one the whole time, so like it'll feel familiar. And I don't know why that's the whole thing. Anyway, but like, yeah, she is the face of the organization. So you go in and like, if you need something from someone and like she feels that she answered it in an email or something, she gets so condescending and is like, well, you just check your email. You're not checking your email. And then like, I don't want to get into it. Like, it's fine. It's a whatever. Like, yes, she has a hard job. She legitimately does, and I'm not gonna make fun of that. But like, as far as having a happy, bubbly, like, oh, hello, I'm so happy to see you. Welcome to the place where you are, and we're gonna welcome you right in. We're gonna help you to have the best educational experience of your life. Like, nope, that's not what we bring. That's not that never been the energy that we have. Energy that we have is always like, well, I'm not allowed to do any day drinking, but I'm gonna give off a vibe that says, boy, I sure want to. Anyway, so yeah, it was all full of self-doubt and whatnot, and all full of like, and I had, this is what I was talking about. I was talking about teachers being like, we'll walk, and then I had students who were like, we'll walk. We won't show up to school when you're not here. And I'm like, guys, first of all, it's 2-day suspension. This is not that long. But that's number one. Number two is that, like, if you're a student, because I had multiple students who were like, yeah, we're not going to come to class. And it's like, first of all, like, that'll really make it seem like I am fomenting a mutiny against the man in charge who, like, does not know what he has lost in me. He doesn't have very many allies left. Most people are tired of him. Like, honestly, there are a lot of teachers who are like, he is bullcrap. Like, our last staff meeting, most of the staff walked out and they're like, he didn't say one nice thing about us, did not appreciate anything that anybody has done, but just harped on us for like a solid 45 minutes and then asked if the committees had anything, and then they never do, and then was like, oh, well, all right, bye, grab a donut on your way out. You all suck and you failed at everything, was the message of the meeting. And everybody came out of there and they're like, well, you're the one who said that you would get us this document and has never done it. And you're also the one who, every time we ask, like, could you email the minutes of this meeting? Because a lot of us would like to know the date that you just said, that's in very small print at the top of the page. And, like, we can't see it from where we're sitting. And you should just send this out as a supplemental email so that we can follow along and be like, oh, I'm getting it, anyway, regardless, be that as it may. Yeah, I don't need, like, students were like, yeah, we're going to do a walkout. And I was like, please don't. But I told everybody, I'm like, this is very humbling. And a lot of times when people say humbling, they mean the exact opposite. Like, oh, it's very humbling to win the, whatever magazine's beautiful person of the year or whatever. It's like, yeah, I'm sure it's very nice to win, but humbling, like, they literally are handing you a prize that's like, you are the best one, and you're like, oh, this makes me so humble. No, it does. That's not how humility works. Like, come on, stupid. Humility don't work like that. Anyway, so yeah, throw it. That's always the key to success. So yeah, I told my friend Diane, I'm like, yeah, I've always had low self-esteem, so it's kind of weird when like the people whose opinions I actually care about, because admin can go kick rocks now. Like, I'm through. I am 100% done towing their party line, because I towed it for so long and I never got any credit for it. And I stood up for them when nobody else would. Stood up to them, like in front of other faculty members. Stood up to them in front of students and were like, hey, you don't understand how hard his job is and how hard he works to make this a success, and like all that kind of stuff. And he never knew, number one, that I did that, and number two, like, probably wouldn't have appreciated it if he did know. Because he's the self-made man, and ba-ba-da-ba-doo. Anyway, so, yeah, I really, really do not give a crap about that kind of stuff. But anyway, so he, yeah, so many people are like, yeah, he's full of crap, and you're, awesome teacher who works hard, and we want to side with you and not with him. And I'm like, yeah, I get that, and that is humbling. Like, it really is, and the exact definition of the word, because most of the time people say humbling, they mean like, well, I wish I could humble brag, but like, what I do is like beyond that, like what I do is so amazing, like humble bragging doesn't even begin to cover it. So yeah, that's how some people be. But oh no, not I. I will survive. Long as I know how to love, I know I'll be alive. Anyway, trying to make this happen. So like, I tell my friend Diane, like, yeah, I've always had low self-esteem, and she's like, what are you talking about? Like, you were always one of the best, one of the coolest, one of the like most amazing. And I'm like, yeah, that's how you felt about me in high school, because we were super good friends. And like, see, when you plant flowers on either side, it's supposed to increase the odds that a beehive will appear. But I've still had no bees. Hashtag no bees. Hashtag not blessed. Hashtag God hates atheists. Just kidding. I mean, if he exists, then he probably doesn't love them. Like, but also it's weird that he, creates his children for the express purpose of like having them worship him, which is like, I'm a pretty weird dad, but I don't make my kids do that. Like, kids, worship me. Tell me how great I am and how amazing it is that I provided everything for you. They're like, you provided everything? And I'm like, how you think your internet gets paid for? How you think you have a roof over your head? Who you think installed Windows 10 on those computers you enjoy? You know, like, all the things. Like, literally all the things. Like, yeah. So I guess what I'm saying is that I am a god to them, basically, and they do not revere me as such. Like, you should see the blasphemy I have to put up with on a daily basis. I'm just kidding. Anyway, so yeah, like hopefully I'll get some bees and whatnot. But I tell my friend Diane, I'm like, I've struggled with self-esteem for forever, and she's like, yeah, but come on, like, I see you as this amazing person and da 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 da. And I'm like, no, that's how I see you, stupid. In your face, you're amazing. Take that, you jerk. You're the amazing one. Haha, try and push it off on me. I'm gonna push it right back on you. Neener. And I actually mean mine, and you're probably making yours up. Just try and make me feel better. So haha, that's what my insides tell me, because they always are telling me, like, it's impossible that any other person could care about you or could feel that you were worthwhile and whatnot. Like, self-esteem is a dicey proposition. And this is the part where we're getting into me talking about feelings, because, like, a lot of guys won't talk about their feelings because it's like, oh, it's gay to talk about your feelings. It's meh, it's this, that, or the other. And it's like, first of all, like, it might be gay to talk about your feelings, but if it is, then it is a type of gayness that straight people should 100% appropriate. Like, we're never going to get away with calling everybody queen. Yas. Oh my God, yas. Like, we're not Jonathan from Queer Eye. Like, we can't bring that energy. We wish we could. Like, even straight guys see Jonathan and we're like, man, I wish I could bring that kind of energy to anything, you know? And meanwhile, he brings it to other people's lives and is like, let's make your life better with, like, hair and makeup routine. You know? Anyway, regardless. But yeah, like, self-esteem is a very complicated issue, because consider this, like, the self-esteem movement was largely a failure. Like, a lot of the things that came out of the self-esteem movement in psychology has been, like, disproven or shown to be problematic and all sorts of stuff. And so, like, the same kind of things that fly in the face of, like, oh, should we seek to be happy in life, or should we actually try and do something else, because something else is probably way better for us than trying to be happy, getting ourselves caught in a rat race of, like, be happy, and, like, trying to force ourselves to tell other people that we're happy even when we're not. Hello, Instagram. And so there's a whole system in place for all of these things, for people to feel completely hollow and empty on the inside, and like that they've had everything meaningful scooped out and replaced with just meaningless fluff. And that is thanks to all of our friends who make so very many things. You know what? I'm not going to pin it on any one person or any one entity. Let's just say that like that is a thing that people feel. Like people begin to feel worthless. People begin to feel like they don't matter. And like I mean, I'll tell you, I've said it before, like one of the forces at work is freaking Madison Avenue, because at some point they realized like, oh, we can get people to buy stuff if we just tell them that they're not good enough now, that they never will be good enough, and that their lives are awful and will continue to be awful, and and will continue to be until they start buying our products. You know, like it's as simple as that, and that has always been the approach that that these people have taken. Well, it's taken on some new dimensions of late, but this cheesy thing is still very much the same. And so like if you are a human who is constantly trying to be sold things, because some people are like, yeah, but we need to make sure that they're constantly sold things so that they'll stay true to the machinery that is making this all happen. And when I say machinery, I mean like actual machines, but I also mean mechanisms and whatnot. Like that's the whole problem. Anyway, so I'm just gonna talk into the microphone for a minute. I'm not gonna focus on what I'm doing, because I'm not gonna lie, I'm getting very tired and I'm having a harder time focusing on what I'm trying to say. And I want to focus on what I'm trying to say and maybe not think about the Minecraft as much. So, well, let me get back down underground, because that's where I'm safe. Anyway, so yeah, like I told my friend Diane, like, I've always had very low self-esteem, and she's like, I don't know that I've known that. Like, I've always thought you were amazing and all this stuff. And it, like, she's amazing, and she always makes me feel wonderful. And like, that's the quality that I see in some of the students that I've described on this channel when I'm talking about people who bring the sunshine with them wherever they go. Well, my friend Diane has been through some trauma. And so, like, her bringing the sunshine wherever she goes, like, that is legitimately where that comes from. Is her knowing, like, well, if I ain't doing this, ain't nobody gonna do this. So, like, if I don't bring the happy, ain't nobody gonna bring the happy, because, like, that's just the way it goes. Anyway, so, yeah, like, I've always been full of self-doubt, and I've always been full of low self-esteem. And it's funny because, like, on the one hand, like, I have some students who have really high self-esteem who shouldn't, because the high self-esteem makes them complete tools in the classroom, just complete awful people. And I'm like, yeah, I wish you had a little less of that, and like a little more like stick-to-itiveness with school, and be a good student and learn things and respect your teacher and whatnot. Like, yeah, I wish they had a little more of that and a little less like, oh, I'm special, my self-esteem is good. Because like my self-esteem has always been crap. It's always been a problem. Always, my entire life it's been a problem. And it's funny because like, on the one hand, one of the great failures of the self-esteem movement in psychology is that we created all of these self-entitled little monsters who are like, the world revolves around me. I'm the important one, and you all can suck it if you don't agree about how amazing I am. You know, so we got all these people with tons of confidence and no ability to back it up, and yeah, not an ideal set of circumstances. Meanwhile, like, I understand the concept that I can do a lot of things and I have a lot of, talents, some of which are hidden and some of which are known. But like there are a number of things that I'm very, very good at that are even marketable skills that I never market because I'm terrible at marketing myself, among other things. Like I'm not good at like salesmanship, but whatever. Um, so, dang. Yeah, regardless. Yeah, my friend Diane is like, what's this low self-esteem stuff? Like, I never knew that. And it's like, yeah, we've talked about it, but like, I did. I always did. I always felt like, that, that I was no good and that I was not worthy of anyone like really understanding me or liking me for the person that I was. And I always felt this way, like very deeply, where I was like, even if someone was like, hey, you're a good friend, I like you, you're a good dude, I'd be like, yeah, like my internal monologue was always like, yeah, but if you really knew, then you would not like me at all. And it's this stupid self-esteem issue, which, like, thank goodness I'm working on mental health and stability and, like, trying to get to a good place. But on the other hand, like, for years and years, I cultivated some terrible mental health habits that any mental health professional would be like, oh my god, you cannot, like, your parents should have seen this and should have been like, hey kid, we gotta you know get you some fixing in your brain. They did a little of that though. They did take me in for therapy at one point, but it wasn't related to that, it was related to something else. Anyway, regardless, so yeah, I've always had trouble with it. But like, on the other hand, like too much self-esteem, like, I complain all the time to my students about how narcissistic their generation is. And they really are. Like, a lot of them are so narcissistic. They are so into themselves that, like, it's just it is troubling. It is absolutely troubling. Anyway, so um yeah, you can have too much self-esteem and you can have too little. And I think a lot of unhappiness in the world results from, having a lack of some of these things. But you know, there are things that help, and you know, good practices, and this is one of them. Being able to journal and being able to compile my thoughts and talk about my feelings and stuff. Like, I'm a guy. I have feelings. Get over it. Who cares? Like, we all have feelings. Everybody has feelings. You know what I'm saying? Like, um, so let me just address this, and then I'll close out because I gotta go to bed. I'm way too tired, and it is way too late. So, Josh Hawley, who is the doofus moron who did a um Black Panther style fist in the air to the insurrectionists on January 6th, like, that guy He's a congressman who's like, hey, you guys have the right idea. Like, let's have a riot and let's smear poop inside the Capitol and steal stuff and chant about hanging the vice president of the United States in our like very peaceful, like 100% normal thing that we're doing. Anyway, regardless, but yeah, like forgot where I was. Oh yeah, Josh Hawley. Anyway, so yeah, Josh Hawley was talking about like, oh, the degradation of the American man, and like, um, and and this is the kind of stuff that you hear from people who like don't understand the issue at all. Like they don't grasp the base level concepts of where a rebuttal of these dumbass ideas would even start. Like you would have to give him so much, like such a historical background in the facts before you can even begin to explain to him why all the things he said are so incredibly stupid. But anyway, some of the stuff that he was talking about is like, what, bro? Come on, what are you doing? Anyway, yeah, I should check right here because, like, is there more whatnots? Let me check right here because is there more whatnots? Like every now and again, I'll dig some of these just to look ahead and see what's happening. Anyway, doesn't look like there's much happening. At least not on this level. Maybe below, maybe above. Probably above. Anyway, like, yeah, you can have too much self-esteem. That much is true. And some of the world's worst people are the people who have the most self-esteem. Like, sometimes it could be really, really terrible to have someone who really cares about themselves more than anyone else. Like, I could go on and on with examples and ideas of why that would be terrible. But then on the other hand, like, you don't want someone who's only selfless because people are going to walk all over him, and it's not going to work well. So, yeah, there's got to be a balance and stuff. Anyway, like, I try so hard to find my balance and to find a good space where I can feel good about things. And this whole weekend, like, I have just felt so, like, oh, I don't know if I'm good enough. I'm probably like not able to do the things that I want to do, and I probably won't be able to accomplish anything. And it's all pretty stupid, blah, blah, blah. I'm full of self-doubt, and it's terrible. Anyway, so dumb stuff that Josh Hawley said. He was like, yeah, American male has been under attack, and it's like, yeah, right. That doesn't sound. If you said the American woman, I'd be like, oh yeah, and you're part of that. So like, definitely, like, thanks for recognizing the harm that you yourself and your colleagues do. Anyway, so anyway, he was talking about like how American men have been told that they are all the problem, especially white men, and like, and he's talking about how, like, you got to be a part of the American family and family values, and you can't be, watching porn and playing video games. Those two things specifically. And like, there's a thing called virtue signaling where it's like you're not a good person, but you're doing things that other people can see so that they can see it, so that they will be like, oh my God, you know who's a good person? This person. And meanwhile, like, maybe they are, maybe they're not. Like, maybe they're a quality individual, maybe they're not. But, like, you know, I'm not even listening to what I'm saying at this point. Like, I'm too tired and I just need to go to bed. But, like, anyway, stupid Josh Hawley with this thing about, like, yeah, the American man is under attack and he turns to video games and he turns to porn. And it's like, dude, like, do you not understand the concept? Like, first of all, like, I don't mean to be weird about this, but I had a student write a research paper on porn, and in my college night class, not in my high school class, because my high school class, God dang it, I just knocked the PS3 over. Oh, come on, PS3. No, it's still good. PS3 is still good. It's a slim, not the super slim, and it's not the chunkster. It's the one in between there. Anyway, regardless, but like, man, just let this fool die. Let me just walk somewhere where there can be some peace and quiet. So, anyway, I just, I think about that comment of like, oh, the American man is under attack, and then he turns to porn and video games. Well, porn is actually healthier than you think, which is weird, but it's true. Like, there's a really interesting talk that somebody gave, like a TED Talk style, but it wasn't a TED Talk per se. But they were like, look, if you had told most people living in the 1980s that, you know, what do you think society would be like if pornography was widely available, anonymously available, available anytime, day or night, and just anywhere you look, it's there. You can get it like almost anywhere, to the point where it's like almost pushed on you, you know. And interestingly, he's like, yeah, most researchers would have said, well, that's going to be the collapse of Western civilization. Like, it's going to be the downfall of anything. You can't have that situation. This is ridiculous. And as it turns out, it's actually very much the opposite. In places with high internet porn usage, attitudes toward women are better. Incidents of rape are lower. In places where they do not have broadband internet, and so they really can't access pornography as much, attitudes toward women are worse. Incidences of rape are way up. Teen pregnancies are way up. It's a whole, like, there are a number of social markers that go in the wrong direction when you don't have a healthy outlet. Like, okay, if someone, you know, wants to show themselves in adult type ways, because we call it like adult film and adult videos and whatnot. Like, if somebody wants to show themselves in adult type situations, that is their choice. As long as they're a consenting adult and the other people that they are working with are consenting adults, who gives a crap? Like, at this point, you know, and they want to put that content out there for people to look at later and be like, oh, I see. Oh, I see what you're on about. Yeah, whatever. Who cares? Like, who cares? Obviously, God gets very bent out of shape with this kind of stuff. Because he is not at all down for healthy expressions of any sexuality, especially not female, and so like yeah, it's very much problematic. But anyway, so I just I look at the fact that like we understand generally what the effects are, and most people will tell you that any idea of a porn addiction or a addiction, those things are mostly laughable. It's just people trying to explain it away so that in a religious context they can be like, no, it's an addiction. It's like, it's like Satan sneakily got me some cocaine and I tried it and I loved it, like it's like that in a weird way, the way that people react to it and the way that people look at it. But like, when I say look at it, I don't mean like they look at it. I mean they look at the concept of anyone doing that and they're like, that is wrong and you shouldn't. Anyway, regardless, people and their ways. So yeah, that's number one. Number two, video games. Like, video games can be very life affirming and very wonderful. And coming back to this whole thing, like, I used to listen to a podcast where the host would all the time be on about like, oh, it's so stupid that grown men are doing things that are meant for little boys. Little boys are the ones who are interested in video games and whatnot. And these people never grow up. And it's this arrested development where they're just stuck in some phase, right? And I've heard this argument so many times, and it does not hold water. And here's why. Okay. I used to work with the little kids at church. This is the last thing we were doing before I handed it in and was like, I'm not doing church anymore. And they were like, the what? But you're like a person that we thought would always do church. And I was like, yeah, well, the joke's on you. I ain't doing it anymore. Anyway, so, let's see. Me want honeycomb. Me get honeycomb? No, did not. Anyway, it's not a perfect thing. It just slightly increases it. From what I hear, for the possibility when you put flowers next to your saplings. Anyway, but yeah, video games can be very life affirming, and like there can be a tremendous amount of accomplishment. There can be a tremendous amount of happiness. There can be a tremendous amount of community and whatnot surrounding this. Everybody always thinks of like, oh, it's like nerds in their mom's basement. I'm not in my mother's basement. I am in my own freaking house that my wife that I am married to and that I have 2 children with, like, we bought this house. Like, we just refinanced this house so that we can pay it off faster. So, like, yeah, how very adult is that? Like, I'm not in a state of arrested development, although I'm a very big fan of that show. But regardless, the fact is, people, that here's why that idea is dumb, is because it is based in a concept of masculinity that is static and cannot apply to everyone. Because there are multiple types of men, and this is a thing that I teach my students all the time, where I'd be like, okay, I can't tell you at this point. I really need to go to bed. Let me make this point and let me go to bed. But like, we'll be reading a particular text that I can't think of what it is right now. But like, we will be reading it and I will be like, okay, so all men are the same, right? And they'd be like, yeah, kind of. And I'll be like, okay, awesome. And then I'll have one of the football players, like I almost always have at least one in my junior classes, and I'll be like, hey, all right, Mr. Big Strong Jock football player, you and I, we are the same, exactly the same. Masculinity, like, exactly the same. And they're like, no, you're not the same. And I'm like, okay. Well, I'm a fancy man who enjoys drinking strong hot tea and reading very old books. So, and I'm like, okay, do you enjoy either of those things, Mr. Football Player? And he'll always be like, no. And I'll be like, well, then why are you not a man? Because what a man does is drink very strong tea and enjoy very old books. And he's like, well, that's what you do, but that's not what everybody does. And I'm like, aha, exactly. There is room in our universe for the concept that, like, I was like, okay, class, would you say that I am not a man? And there's not a person there, like, I have a, long, luxurious beard. And so, like, you looking at me, you would not say that I'm not a man. Like, I had someone tell me last week that they thought I looked like Karl Marx. I was like, oh, thank you. Like, probably the only person on campus you could say that to, and I would take it as a compliment. Anyway, tell me I look like Walt Whitman, and I will, thank you from the bottom of my heart. That old Walt Whitman picture, not the young, sassy one of him, like, leaning on a fence post. Anyway, regardless, we're not here to talk about Walt Whitman portraits. The idea is that there is room in the universe for more than one concept of masculinity. So when I worked with the little kids, here is an example of things being stupid and what people do when they're like, no, that's not male, that's not masculine, you're not doing it in the right way. So, the little kids loved playing with me. And I don't know what it is, but, like, really young kids really take to me. They do. Like, there's no explaining it. They just take a shine to me, and they're like, we like this guy. We can't even explain why, what it is about him. It doesn't matter. We are young children. We don't have to account to anyone for our tastes in anything, because we will watch the same episode of, like, Veggie Tales or whatever the crap again and again and again, and we do not care that, every time you have to push play on it, that it drains a little bit of your life force out. Like, we don't care about that. We just want to see what we want to see, say the little children. Anyway, so this one little boy, he would always want to play catch with me. Oh God, let's go get some. Wait, he gonna be dead before I get there. As always, thanks for noticing. Anyway, so yeah, this little kid used to like to play with me, and other little kids would be like, yeah, I want to play with him too and whatnot. And so I had to, like, set up times for each of them. Meanwhile, my wife, who's like a lovely person and great with kids, somehow they're like, you're okay. We'll play with you when he's not when it's not my turn to play with him. We'll play with you." And it's like, you got that backwards. You don't even know what you're talking about, kids. Anyway, so there's one little boy. He always wanted to throw balls back and forth. He always wanted to play catch. And so I would play catch with him. Well, one day, like, we didn't have anything to play catch with, and I'm trying to suggest other things. And he's telling me, he's like, "No. Like, I play football. I play football with my dad." And this little kid who is like preschool, he's not even in school yet. And he's already buying into these concepts of masculinity that are very like, "No, this is what it means to be male." And it's so stupid. Guys, like, we have to break out of these cycles. Because, like, I could tell you from experience, it is not healthy to bottle up emotions. You got to start a YouTube channel that sometimes people will join, and you'll be like, why did you join? What are you doing? Or some people will subscribe, and you'll be like, why did you subscribe? Join. That's not the right verb, but it's late, so you'll forgive me everything. Anyway, and then, like, you pour out your feelings, and then people are like, "Well, that was weird, and you made it awkward, and I hated it." That's what you should comment down below. Anyway, people, I hope you hated this episode as much as I hate myself sometimes. Ha ha ha. It's quite a bit. No, I don't hate myself anymore. Not like that. Not like I used to. But I really used to. And I also really used to wonder, like, why can't I be quote unquote normal? But, like, when normal is toxic and normal isn't helping and normal is, like, upholding systems of patriarchy that make everybody's lives worse, including mine, if I uphold that system, it'll also make my life worse too. Like, why would I want that? Why would I want that? So, feelings. Like, sometimes I don't feel very confident in myself. And, like, one of my constant worries is, like, am I using my weekends right? Because that's half the reason I had to get medicated, because I felt like I wasn't spending my weekends right. You know, like, I work hard. I work really hard so that I can have weekends, so that I can enjoy a little bit of time, you know, with myself, with my family, before I have to go back and do a whole bunch more work. And, like, recognizing that is the nature of my life right now, you know, I have to be honest. Like, I want to make sure that I'm maximizing my fun and my happiness, and my joy, my pleasure, my everything. And so having a creative outlet is very nice. It is superbly, wonderfully nice. But then again, like, you know, I get up in my head about it, and I put too much pressure on myself, and I feel like, am I doing this in a way that my audience will understand? Like, look, if you're someone who follows my channel and you start watching it and then suddenly you're disappointed with something I do and you unsubscribe, that's fine. That's fine. Like, I don't know you personally. And even if I do, I don't know, like, I know a lot of people who watch my channel are students, but I don't know them by their YouTube nicknames. I'm surprised they can find me by mine. Anyway. So, like, I do get really hard on myself sometimes. And I was hard on myself all weekend, and it sucked, and it was stupid. And I just needed to accept, like, hey, you're not always going to be able to crank out exactly what you want over the weekend. Like, some weekends are going to be lost weekends where, like, you wanted it to be one thing and it's going to be very much another. But who cares? Like, it isn't as if I have millions of followers that I'm disappointing and whatnot. Like, you know, but it's just myself, really, that I'm disappointing and that I'm disappointed in. So, like, I have to deal with all of my emotions and all of my long-standing, like, not being good to myself over years and years and years and years of not being good to myself and not believing in myself and not trusting myself and not choosing my own happiness and following other people's ways and hoping that things go the way they wanted them to go. And, like, I've done all too much of that in my life. Way too much. It's time for me to just, like, be happy. Like, just be happy that I have things. Be happy that I have a creative outlet. And just be happy that I have the outlet. Like, don't even worry about, like, oh, is the content good this week? Is it better than last week? And, like, let's, you know, like, who gives a crap? Like, if you're enjoying it, enjoy it. If you're not enjoying it, then don't do it. Anyway, I've kind of enjoyed making this episode, but I'm so freaking tired. And I have to go to bed. So I'm going to quit this game, come over here. And hey, ladies and gents, I enjoy my journaling. If you enjoy my journaling, like, welcome to my little world, I guess. This has been Rem Pemberton, people. I don't write in journals. I don't know. Like, I've never been able to be consistent in journals. So this is the only way that I've found that I'm able to do it. And I put it out there, like, on YouTube where public can access it, because honestly, sometimes I just love the idea that anyone might find it and be like, oh, this kind of, like, is my jam a little bit. And I still don't understand it when people do say things like that about my channel. Still don't understand it, but I'm like, I appreciate it. Anyway, you're good. You're cool. All right, people, that's it for this one. I will see you in the next one. Okay, bye.